Singapore's core inflation in June has hit the highest level in more than 13 years. It has come in at 4.4% on year, driven by strong increases in food, retail and energy costs. Now, Economists expect Singapore's central bank to tighten monetary policy again. This as inflation is projected to peak around the third quarter this year. Rebecca Mateo reports.
Private transport is seeing the biggest increase in prices. Rocketing costs for a certificate of entitlement to own a car is helping to boost car prices. And together with rising petrol costs, that's seeing private transport inflation shoot up to 21.9% in June.
The overall higher oil prices, especially seen from Brent crude, has actually supported and underpinned the higher fuel costs and petrol costs in Singapore. Of course, the entire uncertainty behind the Russia and Ukraine tensions will be the key concern that will keep me awake at night.
Private transport inflation is also grabbing a bigger share of the spending by higher income households. In the first half of the year, that's seen the top 20% income group experience the biggest increase in inflation, up by 6%. This is compared to 4.2% for households in the lowest 20% income group. Still, those with the lowest incomes were hit harder by rising prices in food, housing and utilities as well as education. Accommodation inflation rose to 4.2% in June on the back of a larger increase in housing rents. But food prices jumped to 5.4%. Economists blame it on the ongoing Ukraine-Russia war, which is affecting Ukraine's ability to export wheat.
As food supplies start to shrink in certain countries, governments get pretty nervous, and so they also start to try to restrict ship exports in order to protect their own domestic supplies of products. We've seen that with cooking oil from Indonesia a few months back. We are still seeing that for chicken prices, for Malaysia.
Inflation for retail and other goods also came in at a higher 3.1% in June. That's amid steep increases in the cost of medicines and health products, as well as clothing and footwear. Singapore's central bank expects core inflation to peak around the third quarter, before easing towards the end of the year. Some analysts expect another round of monetary policy tightening in a few months to tame inflation. But one economist says inflationary pressures will go on for some time.
We do think that core inflation is going to be quite sticky, very persistent, and much stronger than what the government is expecting. When it does peak out, it may not ease up as quickly as one might hope, especially with the upcoming GST hike that's scheduled for the start of next year.
MAS says it expects the core inflation rate to average between 3 and 4% for the full year. It warns that with Singapore's tight labour market and strong consumer spending, businesses are likely to pass on the extra costs to customers.